I never thought I'd be the guy telling a story like this. I used to laugh at these kinds of, you won't believe what happened to me posts on Reddit or those dramatic YouTube confessionals. But here I am, 37 years old, sitting alone in my kitchen at 2 a.m., staring at an empty bottle of wine, still trying to piece together the wreckage of my life and make some kind of sense out of it. My name's Jake, and up until about a year ago, I thought I had life pretty well figured out. I had a modest but growing software business I built from the ground up, a decent house in the suburbs of Austin, and a woman I truly believed I'd spend the rest of my life with. Her name was Laura. God, just saying her name out loud still does something to my chest. We met in the most painfully ordinary way, through friends at a 4th of July BBQ. I was 32 at the time, a little introverted, the kind of guy who prefers coding late into the night over bar hopping. She was the opposite, lively, charming, eyes like firecrackers and a laugh that could cut through a crowd. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only one in the room, even when everyone was watching her. She was magnetic, and I was hooked. It didn't take long for us to fall into each other's lives. A couple of dates turned into weekends together. Weekends turned into keys on each other's nightstands. Before I knew it, she'd moved into my house. My house became our house. We shared everything: Netflix passwords, laundry, dreams for the future. She talked about opening a little yoga studio. I wanted to scale my app into something big, maybe even get acquired. We had plans, real plans. Or so I thought. In hindsight, there were signs. There are always signs, right? The phone turned face down, the "I'm just tired" excuses, the sudden out-of-town girls' weekends that seemed to come more often than usual. But I loved her. I trusted her. I was the guy who brought her flowers for no reason, who rubbed her feet after work, who made her favorite mushroom risotto, even though I hated mushrooms. I believed if you love someone right, they'll never leave. God, I was so naive. It all came crashing down one rainy Tuesday in November. I'll never forget that day. I'd just wrapped up a meeting with a venture firm that was this close to investing in my software. I was riding high, excited to tell Lara, ready to celebrate with takeout and a bottle of the good red we were saving. But when I walked in the door, her suitcase was by the hallway, and her face was already apologizing. "Jake, I need to talk to you," she said, and I felt the ground start to shift under me. I laughed at first like some idiot in a rom-com. "You going somewhere?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood. She didn't laugh. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did." I swear, for a second, everything went silent like the world hit pause. He told me she'd reconnected with her ex, Jason, some corporate finance bro from her past who she always said had taught her what love wasn't. Turns out Jason had grown up, gotten rich, and come crawling back, and she apparently still had unfinished business. That's what she called it, unfinished business. She didn't cry, I did. She didn't beg me to understand, I did. She didn't look back when she walked out the door. But I stood there for hours waiting for her to come back. She never did. The weeks after that were a blur of numbness. I barely touched my work. I ignored my friends. My mom kept calling, but I couldn't bear to hear the disappointment in her voice. I drank too much. I stopped shaving. I slept on the couch because the bed smelled like her. I hit bottom. And then, ironically, almost cruelly, that's when everything changed. A month after Laura left, I got an email from the same venture firm I'd pitched before. Everything went sideways. Subject line: "Follow up on your pitch, exciting news." At first, I thought it was spam. I almost deleted it. But then I opened it, mostly out of boredom and a hangover. They wanted to move forward. Not just move forward, they wanted to buy my app outright. Full acquisition, 7 figures. I stared at my screen for what felt like an hour. I read the email 5 times, blinked, walked around the kitchen, came back, read it again. The number was real. The offer was real. I called my lawyer, then my accountant, then my best friend, Chris, who had been trying to pull me out of my slump for weeks. Dude, this is it. He said, you've been grinding for years. This is your moment. And it was in the middle of the worst emotional pain I'd ever felt. Life handed me a lifeline. By January, the deal was done. I walked away with $12 million, 0 cents after taxes. $12 million. I'd gone from crying into a bowl of cereal at 2 a.m. to watching 7 digits hit my bank account in a quiet office with a lawyer nodding and saying, "Congratulations, Mr. Baines." But you know the strangest part? I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel like a success. I felt empty. Money doesn't hug you at night. It doesn't laugh at your dumb jokes or trace lazy circles on your chest when you're falling asleep. It doesn't know how to make your favorite tea when you're sick. It doesn't say, "I love you" back. It just sits there, quiet, quiet, massive. So I did what any heartbroken, newly minted millionaire might do. I got the hell out of town. I spent February in Iceland, March in Japan, April in Italy. I ate food I couldn't pronounce. I drank wine older than I was. I sat on the Amalfi Coast and watched the sun melt into the ocean while locals played guitar and sang songs I didn't understand. And slowly, bit by bit, I started to feel alive again. Then came May. Back in Austin, back home, I decided to do something I hadn't done in months. Go to one of Laura's favorite spots. There's this open-air jazz bar downtown, the kind of place with string lights and vintage couches and too many types of bourbon. We used to go every other Thursday. She loved it. Went alone. I don't know why, maybe to reclaim it. I was nursing an old-fashioned when I heard that laugh. That laugh. I turned, and there she was. Lara. She hadn't changed much. Same caramel hair, same expensive perfume, same way of tilting her head when someone else was talking. But something in her eyes looked different. He was with her, too. Jason. I recognized him immediately from the pictures I used to hate scroll on her Instagram. Tall designer suit, one of those smug faces that looks like it was born to deliver bad news to interns. He was holding her waist like she was his trophy, like he'd won. I didn't plan on approaching them, I swear I didn't. But then she saw me, and for the first time she looked uncomfortable. She made her way over, Jason trailing behind. "Jake," she said, cautious. "Wow. Hey," I said, calmly, too calmly. It must have unnerved her. "I didn't know you still came here." I said, "Just felt like jazz tonight." Hot. Jason nodded, all alpha male confidence. "You look good, man. Been a while." I smiled. "Yeah, it's been interesting." There was this awkward silence, the kind that buzzes in your ears. Lara finally spoke. "I heard about the sale, your app." "Oh?" I sipped my drink. "Word travels fast." "It was in the tech bulletin. Jason forwarded it to me," she admitted, eyes darting. Jason leaned in. 12 million, right? I nodded. "After taxes." He whistled. "Well, damn, good for you, man." Lara looked at me like she'd just seen a ghost in a winning lottery ticket. "I'm happy for you, Jake, really." "Thanks," I said, voice even. "I'm happy too." And then I dropped it. "I'm actually opening a coding school for underserved kids," I added like it was nothing. Trying to give back a little. Feels good to do something that matters. Lara blinked. Jason looked like he'd swallowed something sour. She stammered, That's amazing." And right there, in that crowded bar, I realized something. It wasn't bitter anymore. I wasn't broken. I had built something. I had become something. And while she left me for an old flame with an expensive watch and a smug grin, I had moved forward, evolved, and won not just in dollars, but in self-worth. That night after I left the jazz bar, I drove home in silence, no music, no podcast, just the low hum of the tires on the road and the echo of my own thoughts. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel angry either. It was strange. Closure doesn't come with fireworks. It's more like the soft click of a door finally locking. That's how it felt. Like a door between Lara and me had quietly shut, and I had finally, truly stepped through it. But life, as always, has a way of tossing curveballs just when you think you've caught your breath. 3 weeks later, I got a text. Lara, hey, can we talk sometime? I stared at it for a long time. It was one of those messages where your body reacts before your brain does. My heart kicked up, my palms went cold. I put the phone down, picked it back up, put it down again. I didn't answer that night. The next day, she called, and I answered. Her voice was soft, almost timid. Jake, thank you for picking up. I didn't know if you would. I wasn't sure I would either, I admitted. Can we meet? Just for coffee? I promise I won't make it weird. Every instinct in me screamed no, but I said yes. I guess a part of me still needed something. I didn't know what. Exactly. Closure, maybe, or just to hear her say sorry and mean it. We met at a little corner cafe we used to go to on lazy Sundays. She showed up wearing a gray sweater and no makeup, her hair pulled back in a bun like she used to wear when we lived together. She looked ordinary, and somehow that made it easier. We sat down, and for a while we just talked about nothing. The weather, traffic, the coffee. She was nervous, I could tell. And then, after a long pause, she finally said it. I made a mistake. She looked me dead in the eyes. I thought going back to Jason would give me the life I always dreamed of, the money, the security. But he doesn't see me, Jake. Not the way you did. He treats me like an accessory. Like I'm a trophy he won, and I hate who I am when I'm with him. I said nothing. She kept going. You never made me feel small. You always listened. You loved me for me. And I threw that away for something shiny, and I regret it every day. Tears welled up in her eyes. I'd seen her cry before, but this was different. This was raw. I'm not asking for anything, she said. I just needed to tell you. I needed you to know that you mattered, that what we had mattered. I took a deep breath. I looked down at my coffee, then back at her. Lara, I said, my voice quiet but steady, I did love you. I would have given you everything. And yeah, it hurt like hell when you left. But I'm okay now. I'm not angry anymore. I don't want to go backward. Her lips trembled. I understand. She reached across the table, not to touch me, but to squeeze her hands together like she was holding something in. I'm happy for you, Jake. I mean it. You built something amazing. I nodded, yeah, and I'm finally building something for myself, too. It wasn't some movie moment where we hugged and agreed to be friends. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, sad, but real. After she left, I sat there alone for a while. I finished my coffee. I watched people come and go, some laughing, some arguing, some just lost in their phones. Life kept moving, and so did I. Over the next few months, my life began to take a new shape. The coding school launched. I hired teachers. We started with 15 kids from low-income neighborhoods, brilliant, curious minds who just needed a chance. Watching them write their first lines of code, seeing their eyes light up when something worked, that gave me a high no amount of money ever had. I started traveling again, but this time not to escape, to expand. I visited tech schools in Kenya, women in tech programs in India, rural coding centers in South America. I invested in causes that mattered. I became more than just Jake, the guy who got dumped and sold an app. I became someone I liked. Then, one night in November, almost exactly a year after Lair walked out, I found myself at a charity event for youth tech programs in Dallas. I was one of the keynote speakers. After my speech, a woman approached me, tall, dark, curly hair, wearing a navy blue dress and glasses she kept pushing up her nose. Hi, she said, I'm Elena. I run a nonprofit out of Chicago that helps foster kids get into STEM programs. Your story was incredible. We started talking. We never stopped. 3 months later, she moved to Austin. 6 months after that, we adopted a rescue dog, a little mutt named Pixel. And on our first anniversary, I took her to the jazz bar where Lara and Jason had once stood like royalty. But this time I was the one holding someone's hand. And I realized something. Love doesn't always come in the way you expect. Sometimes it crashes in like a thunderstorm. Sometimes it leaves quietly in the middle of the night. But when it's real, it stays, it grows, and it never makes you feel like a nobody. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more real life stories like this.